The phrase digital transformation, right, has a couple of meanings, right, depending on the context. One meaning is that your business or your processes haven't been digital earlier, right? You're you want to transform a manual process into an automated technology-based process, right? That's one thing. The second thing is what has been happening, especially in countries like the US and Europe in the West, right? A high level of computerization has already happened within businesses, but this has happened like 20, 30 years ago, right? And a lot of changes have come over the past 2, 3 decades, right? Especially the internet, right? Earlier client server technologies to local data centers, right? To internet based technologies, cloud systems, and actually from basic database based analytics to big data systems using AI and ML, all of these taking advantage of the technological advances that have happened over the past couple of decades. That's what we would say is digital transformation today. So I would be addressing the second aspect of it, where already there are systems in place, but they were built for an earlier generation and do not take as much advantage of the features that have come in over the past couple of decades, right? In those areas, what we do is, in those situations, what we do is, first of all, we would work with the client themselves to assess where they are as of today, right? And to take stock of their technology stack, their business processes, and their technical infrastructure, basically how they are deployed and all of that kind of stuff. The next step would be to redesign the entire application, right? And that would need, reimagining the entire business flow, taking advantage of the latest technologies, and maybe a better UX, user experience design, and all of that stuff. And once the redesign is done, right, normally it would get into the implementation phase, right, where your architects would actually re-engineer the application, take advantage of cloud, take advantage of various services rather than products, right? And once the architecture is done, the implemented, it's an agile fashion. You go through multiple sprints and you plan it according to sprints, and then at a point where you have concurrent testing as well. Basically, you either manual initially and then you automate that process, and then once the implementation comes to a particular point and user acceptance testing is done, right, you're pretty sure that okay, we are comfortable launching this. That's when you would go to deployment, right, and do. But since this is a digital transformation, this is not a new application that you're building, right? You already have an application which has a lot of data, right? And that data needs to be migrated here, right? And that takes a few cycles in itself, because you don't want to miss any data, you don't want to mess up with any of that data, and you want to make sure that everything works properly. It has to be a seamless transition into the new version of the software, right? So once that's done, the next phase, and hopefully things are going very well, right? And what you have over the next period is to keep this, basically it's a manage and support kind of a phase, right? You keep supporting and managing the data, managing the application. You need to scale it depending on the number of users that are coming in, the amount of data that is increasing. And right, today software is not like you have version 1 and then after a year later you have version 2. There is continuous improvement that's happening, right? So though we call it manage and support, but there is a lot of development happening in the fifth phase as well. So this would be in brief the kind of process that we follow when we do digital transformation or transforming from an earlier generation software built for the use cases then to this generation and taking advantage of all the advances that have happened over the past couple of decades. Yeah.